Hi friends, happy Friday! Today we are going to continue to talk about poetry, and we are going to look at two new poems written by William Carlos William, who was our main character in A River of Words. So yesterday we read about the red wheelbarrow. Today we're going to take a look at two new poems. The two new poems we're going to read are The Wood Thrush and This Is Just to Say. These poems are part of our book, and we are looking at them separately since it's kind of hard to look at a book on the computer. So as I read the poems, The Wood Thrush and This Is Just to Say, your thinking job is to think about what are the important details that Williams communicates in each poem. What do you think are the most important details or things that you learn from each poem? So let's take a look at our first poem. This first poem is called The Wood Thrush, and as we can see from the picture, the wood thrush is a type of bird. So listen along while I read aloud. The wood thrush, fortunate man, it is not too late. The wood thrush flies into my garden. Before the snow, he looks at me silent without moving. His dappled breast reflecting tragic winter, thoughts my love, my own. Alrighty. So something that I noticed about this poem right away after reading it is we don't have words that rhyme. Late, wood thrush garden, snow without moving, reflecting winter own. Usually when we read poems, the rhyming words come at the end of each line, but looking at the end of each of these lines, those words don't rhyme. Late, wood thrush garden, snow without moving, reflecting winter and own. Those words don't rhyme, but we talked yesterday about how that's okay. Sometimes not all poems rhyme. Let's just talk about the first stanza. Fortunate man, it is not too late. The wood thrush flies into my garden. So the word fortunate, I'm going to highlight that in red. Say that word with me. Ready? Fortunate. The word fortunate tells us about the man. The word fortunate is another way to say lucky. So I'm going to put that right next to the word fortunate so we know what it means. Lucky. He is a lucky man because it is not too late that the wood thrush flew into his garden. We also know that the wood thrush is a type of bird. So the speaker of the poem is feeling lucky that it's not too late to see the wood thrush. It's not too late to see the bird because he just flew into the garden. Now that we understand a little bit more about the first stanza, let's talk about the second stanza. Before the snow, he looks at me silent without moving. So we know it's winter time, it's feeling cold, and he's looking at the speaker from his garden without moving. That makes sense. I think we understand that second stanza. So now let's look at the third. His dappled breast reflecting tragic winter. Thoughts my love, my own. So if we look at the bird, if we look at the wood thrush in the picture and we look at the first line, his dappled breast reflecting. Breast is another word for chest. So if we look at the breast or the chest of the bird, it is white with polka dots. So we can infer, we can use our text clues to determine the word dappled means spotted, because dappled describes the breast, and we know that the breast is the chest on the bird. So I'm going to highlight those words, dappled and breast, and I'm going to make a note about what they mean. Dappled means spotted, and breast means chest. So his spotted chest reflecting winter. So his chest is white, so that we know that it could reflect winter and maybe the dots by the snow falling. So the different spots and the color of his chest reflect or remind the speaker of the season of winter. Thoughts my love, my own. So he loves the bird, and these are thoughts that he's thinking in his head. So this is thoughts my love, my own. This is what the speaker is thinking in his head about the bird. Awesome. So we learned so many things. We learned that the poem is about a wood thrush, and the wood thrush is a type of bird. The speaker feels lucky or fortunate that he was able to see the wood thrush. He was able to see the bird fly into the garden. The bird is in the garden without moving, staring at the speaker, and his white spotted chest, his dappled breast, makes the speaker think of winter. The color and the dots remind him of the winter, and these are the thoughts that he's thinking in his head about the bird. So that we are able to see how inferring and discussing the details in the poem helps us learn so much more than just the words that we see on the page. That's why it's important for us to ask questions while we read and to make inferences. Let's read the next poem. This poem is also going to be by William Carlos Williams, who we know as Willie from A River of Words. The next poem is called This Is Just to Say. So again, you're going to think about the details while I read aloud. This is just to say, I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, in which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. Oh my goodness. So here in the illustration, or in the photograph, we have a picture of plums. We already see the word plums in the first stanza. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox. If we think about the second stanza, in which you were probably saving for breakfast. So the speaker is talking to someone who is saving these plums for breakfast. So the second stanza is still telling us about the plums. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. So that this person that the speaker is talking to can no longer eat the plums for breakfast because he couldn't help himself. He ate them already. Again, the words delicious, sweet, cold all tell us about the plums. So we know that the topic about this poem is the plums. Some of the key details are that the plums were delicious and sweet, which is why the speaker ate them. But if we think about our title, this is just to say, that's why it's also important to not always rely on the title, but to use the title as a clue. The title doesn't say anything about plums, but we know that the speaker is just saying to the other person, hey, you know those plums you were saving for breakfast? Well, sorry, they're all gone because I ate them all. This is just to say, he's letting the other person know that he ate the plums for breakfast already. So now that we've gotten a chance to read both of the poems, we are going to look at them side by side and talk about what do we notice that's the same about the wood thrush, and this is just to say, and what do we notice is the different about the wood thrush, and this is just to say.